You are listening to Voices from the Diaspora.
Hello again, listeners, and welcome again to another edition of Voices from the Diaspora Radio. I'm Milton Margai, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Ms. Fatou Wurie. Fatou is a communications and branding strategist who considers herself a storyteller. This young lady studied political science and gender studies. She is a TEDx Freetown organizer. And as a returnee to Sierra Leone, having left at age 3, Fatou Wurie is passionate about her country's capability to carry innovation and create change for a future where anything is possible. A very welcome to you, Fatou.
Thank you so much for having me, Milton.
Thank you. Fatou, I understand that you're involved with the Mamaye campaign, a campaign that is funded by DFID. Can you please tell our listeners what this campaign is all about?
Okay, Mamaye is a really exciting initiative in Sierra Leone. It is a campaign that is meant to mobilize communities, politicians, development partners, individuals, every Sierra Leonean, and placing power in their hands. We aim to save more lives of mothers and babies in Sierra Leone. We know that currently 1 in 23 women are at risk of dying during childbirth. We have 1 in every Sierra Leonean baby dies every 47 minutes. We lose 11,000 babies every year, and we know it doesn't have to be this way. So it's no longer about outside forces coming in and implementing strategies that may not work. It's saying, all right, we need to consolidate information and empower people, empower stakeholders, empower the government, empower Fatou in Hill Station in Freetown and Fatou in Konadugu and in Kallay and in Bo to make informed choices and hold decision makers to account, and in that process ensure that we're saving more lives of mothers and babies in the country.
That's very noble, because I like the idea of mobilizing communities, politicians, and partners. You guys are actually taking the initiatives in your own hands. The fact that 1 baby dies every 47 minutes is very alarming. I appreciate the fact that you guys have taken this initiative to make sure that it's reduced, or the health of newborn babies, or maternity rate is actually improved. Thank you very much for what you're doing. Based on what you're seeing on the ground right now, Fatou, how successful do you think this campaign is in the lives of girls and women in Sierra Leone?
I mean, the campaign has a lifespan of 5 years, and it is meant to really galvanize momentum. It's meant to change that fatalistic approach that we as Sierra Leoneans usually have. If something happens, not so God say. And that behavioral change comes to saying that sometimes not so God say, but in most instances, we can do something about it. And right now, exciting things are happening from Mamaye. We produced scorecards with Save the Children last year that looked at all the 13 districts in the country and saw how much was located for health in each district. And we went down to the chiefdom level, and even an illiterate chief got the information and said, this is how much, we give this district, this is how much is being spent, and this is how much is missing. Ask your government to allocate more funds towards health spending. And that campaign succeeded. We went from 7.4% to 10.5% for 2013 in health spending. We're always on the radio. We engage a lot with traditional leaders. We work very closely with the Office of the First Lady. We work across 3 main districts in the country. So, I mean, in terms of, and we've launched in Kallay and we've launched in Freetown, and we work very closely with blood donors. So it's garnering momentum. It's garnering support. People love how simple it is, how accessible it is, how applicable it is in their life. So for now, we're really excited about what Mamaye has achieved and what's to come.
Oh, that's very brilliant. The Mamaye campaign itself was initiated by another organization called Evidence for Action, which combines evidence, advocacy, and accountability to save lives in 6 other African countries. Which other countries are these, and what is the situation as we speak?
Okay. So I'm sorry, I just have to clarify a little bit, Milton. So Mamaye is a public face of evidence for action. It's one and the same. So Mamaye is the human, let's say, face, the advocacy element of evidence for action. Yeah.
Right.
So yes. So and so in Sierra Leone, we're led by Dr. Mohamed Ila, who's an obstetrician. He left the UK, came back, and is dedicated to saving more lives of mothers and babies. We work in Ghana. We work in Nigeria. We work in Tanzania and Malawi, and a little bit in Ethiopia. And each country has the same ethos. Information is power. How do we consolidate information, evidence, and strengthen evidence systems? And that will then inform advocacy, more targeted, more focused advocacy for bigger impact. So that's really our ethos across all 6 countries.
Okay, that's brilliant. There's also been much emphasis from certain quarters about the need to pay particular attention to the empowerment of girls and women to ensure that girls remain in school until completion, and to also discourage early pregnancy and to outlaw child marriage. How far has this campaign actually gone in convincing parents to keep sending their girl child to schools instead of marrying them off early?
Well, Mamaye is very interactive, and it's an integration of all these factors, these social, economic, political factors that lead to high maternal mortality rates. 1/5 of all women who die during childbirth are below the age of 19. So early pregnancies is a huge issue in maternal mortality. And so when we look at maternal mortality specifically, which is the focus of the campaign, we look at ways to better empower young groups, young women, young men. How do you get, for instance, Okada drivers to be a part of Mamaye campaign so that they can play a part in ensuring that a woman survives during childbirth? How do we work with partners like Mary Stopes so that we're integrating family planning and maternal mortality or sexual reproductive health practices holistically? So we work in partnership with lots of organizations to ensure that we're looking at or in some ways touching on the social, economic, and political elements that contribute to high maternal mortality.
Right. Partnership is definitely the way forward because I always tell people stuff like this is actually a collective thing. One person or an organization cannot do it all by themselves. So I think the approach you guys are taking is very good as well. And lastly, Fatou, as someone who is on the ground and have first-hand information due to the nature of your job, what advice do you have to young teenage girls about pregnancy and child mortality?
I think it's important to not look at this in a fatalistic manner. We're interested in perpetuating the African stereotype. We're not interested in perpetuating the narrative or focusing on the statistics of high teenage pregnancy and poverty that is rampant in our continent and especially in our country. We're focused on empowerment. How do we bring information to people so that they're empowered to make choices? How do you bring information to people so that they know that they have choices? How do you bring information in a way that is applicable, accessible, simplified, contextualized, so that people are then empowered to create and propel their own change? So it's not a one-day thing. It's a loaded question that you've asked, Milton, and we're still trying to figure out how do we do that. But for me, what I love about Mamaye, and I'm excited about this campaign, is that it's about empowering individuals to be able to be active agents, and therefore it is Africans taking control of the type of change they want to create in their communities.
That's very noble, Fatou, and Adolf Mahat to you. On behalf of Voices from the Diaspora, I'd like to thank you very much for sparing your time to speak to us and to throw light on the projects that you're involved in. I have learned a lot today from you, and I believe our listeners have too. We wish you well with the project and in all your endeavors. The empowerment of the girl child is a must, and we would like to encourage you and others to continue doing the good work. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much for having me, Milton.
All right, and you have a blessed weekend.
Likewise. Take care. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye now.
I wanna leave my footprints on the sands of time. Know there was something that meant something that I left behind. When I leave this world, I'll leave no regrets. Leave something to remember, so they won't forget I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark, so everyone will know I was here. I wanna say I lived each day until I died, and know that I meant something in somebody's life. The hearts I have touched will be the proof that I leave, that I made a difference, and this world will see I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark, so everyone will know I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark, so everyone
Good evening,
will know.
listeners. On July 10, 2013, Muslims in Sierra Leone joined other Muslims around the world to observe the holy month of Ramadan, which lasted for a whole month according to the Islamic calendar, during which people dedicated their time to a more serious form of worship to the Almighty Allah, seeking forgiveness and mercy from the Most High. Out of Sierra Leone's 6 million population, about 70% are Muslims, though not all of them are practicing or devout. Thus, the scramble to worship during the holy month of Ramadan from all strata of our society. Everybody tried their best to observe this holy month. Today, we have guests from Sierra Leone and the United States having a discourse with us about how Islam in its role is affecting our society. Before we begin, I will ask the guests to say hello and briefly introduce themselves to you, the audience. I will start with Brother Abdul Karim Sesay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alaikum salam. My name is Brother Abdul Karim Sesay. Again, calling from Virginia. All right.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Sunusi from Virginia, United States.
Alaikum salam. Yeah, next we'll go to Brother Ali Kallay.
Hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu, listeners. Sheikh Ali Kallay in Freetown.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.
Thank you very much, brothers. We'll start with the first segment of the show. So I'm going to address questions to each and every one of you, and you at least you will be able to answer me within like 3 minutes for each and every one of you. So please, we have to keep to the time. The first question I'll ask Brother Abdul Karim Sesay is, Sierra Leone is one of the nations in the sub-Saharan Africa where all religions are tolerated. What role do you think the Islamic scholars should play in propagating them as other religions are doing? To you, Brother Abdul Karim Sesay.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I've not been to Freetown in at least 4 years now. So the last time I was in Freetown was in 2009 of October, and I found a lot of things different from when we left in 1999. So in terms of like Islam in Freetown, and first of all, I want to share my observations real quickly, and then I can get to answer the question as to what scholars should do to improve that or impact it in some type of way. When I went to Freetown, I went on a dawah mission, and we spent about a month traveling around from the city and also in the provinces. We specifically went to Makeni and Kenema. But anyway, most of the people that were involved, the majority of the people that were involved in the program were very young guys, very young people. Most of them my age, and some of them even younger. I'm 30 years old. And that was very encouraging. And also some of the sisters that like if you're walking in Freetown, you would see some very young people, very young sisters wearing hijab, which was also very different from what I've seen before. So that was kind of encouraging. But in terms of what scholars and the learned people should do to improve that, I think what I've noticed is a lot of us from Sierra Leone, a lot of us Muslims lack, basic Islamic knowledge, like the correct Islamic knowledge. In my case, I was able to learn a lot, and of course, I'm still like an infant in like Islamic knowledge. But I think the scholars can help more in teaching people just basic, knowledge, and then they can take it from there. Anyway, I hope I've not gone over my time. We can, I guess, I can touch further on that the next go around.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brother Abdul Karim. According to your observation, the last time you were in Sierra Leone, you observed that, most of the young people were really involved in the Islam, and like the sisters were wearing their hijabs, and, at least that was the difference from the last time you went there. And what we are lacking at the moment is the basic Islamic knowledge, and that is very, very important. So I'm going to direct this question, the same question, and I want Brother Ali Kallay to give me an answer. Brother Ali Kallay, what do you think the Islamic leaders should do in terms of propagating Islam?
Thank you very much. The question is in place, but let me update you of what is going on here. The person you are talking to, Brother Ali Kallay, Sheikh Ali Kallay to be specific, I'm one of those sheikhs who is here in Freetown, in Bo, in Kenema, in Makeni, Kono, Kabbalah, and everywhere, doing our best. As my brother said earlier, the girls you saw the time you visited Sierra Leone in hijab, learned from us. When we came back some 6-7 years back from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, from the Islamic University of Medina, we did not just came and sit down, but we started teaching alongside with our senior colleagues, our former colleagues, and then we have succeeded. We have done a lot, and we are succeeding. We are doing it in schools. The Islamic Awareness Campaign. We are doing it in schools, in hospitals. We are working with students across the country. For example, the students of Commerce at the College of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences, the Forabe College, Brother Sunusi witnessed one. The last time he came to Sierra Leone, at IPAM, at other tertiary institutions. We are doing our best. But we need to do more. And then you also have to do more. I mean, you in the diaspora, because that's what we are lacking now. We do not have logistics of da'wah. This is our problem. As you know, in the Middle East, by the time we were about to leave this country to go and study, our brothers, our predecessors used to be missionaries, taking salary, receiving salary. But our own time, of course, you know what I'm trying to talk about now.
Okay,
there is no link. There is no business between the scholars and those in the Middle East. Of course, you know what I'm trying to drive at.
Yes,
all we need now is support from our brothers and sisters that are Sierra Leoneans living outside Sierra Leone to work with us in developing our mosques, our schools, our facilities.
Okay, Brother Kallay, I understand that point. We'll get to that because of time. We're going to come to that later in the program. But for now, you know, as you said, at the moment, what is happening in Sierra Leone, what the brother saw before when he was there, the sisters and the brothers, you know, getting into the religion, you know, and now that number has increased from what you are saying since you are on the ground. There's, you know, there's a lot of success stories at the moment with the Islamic Aware campaign that is going on from secondary schools to universities and colleges. And the only thing we are lacking at the moment is logistics. So now I'll move on to Brother Sunusi, for you to give me your input.
Before my brother comes on, as an example, since I came, I have... Hello?
Brother
Alhamdulillah.
Hello.
Brother Kallay, I'm going to come back to you, please. I'm going to come back to you.
All right, okay.
I just want
to give you one example because my brother Sunusi is my witness. When he came here, he saw my mosque. Right now, I'm putting up a school alone. Can you imagine? Just a teacher.
Brother Kallay, I understand that side, but please, can we move on to Brother Sunusi just for a while? Then we'll come back to you.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Okay, alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala nabina Muhammadin wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawm ad-din. All praise is due to Allah and peace and blessing upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad, his family, his companions, and all those who follow him with righteousness until the day of Qiyamah, resurrection. I'm very honored to be on this panel discussion, and I thank you very much for hosting such a very important discussion on Islam. Of course, I think a good way to bring tolerance in society is through education. So I believe that scholars of Islam should educate the people about what Islam stands for. What is the meaning of Islam? Because through understanding, I believe, through understanding of each other's religion, and through that through knowing what Islam stands for, what Islam teaches, we can build tolerance. Because, a lot of intolerance comes from misconception when you don't understand Islam and you stereotype the religion. Because you see some people, Muslims, behaving in a certain way, then you associate them with Islam. You define Islam by their actions, and that is wrong. And I'm sure Brother Kallay and other brothers in Freetown are doing that, educating the people about what Islam stands for, and separate Islam from the action of Muslims, because that's the problem. That's what brings about misconception of the religion and bring about, intolerance. So I believe that is our duty to educate people, to tell them what Islam actually stands for. What are the teachings of our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What is the message of Islam? And I believe, because there's a lot of misconception out there. There's a lot of misunderstanding about the religion. And if people don't know what Islam stands for, we can never have tolerance. Because you will think, okay, Muslims are out there to harm me. They are not nice people. But when you teach them, you tell them that no, Muslims are not, Islam does not teach violence. Islam does not teach, evil. So you educate the people and tell them, let them know that you separate, don't define Islam, by the actions of its followers. Because in any religion, you have people who are bad. So you don't indict the entire religion just because of few people. So this is what the people need to understand, Muslims and non-Muslims as well, that one person is not representing me. One person, when someone does something bad, is not representing the entire faith. So I think, we need to stress on that. And I'm sure, our scholars in Freetown and people of knowledge are doing that. And alhamdulillah, as well as Kallay, mentioned, I've been to Freetown myself, and I've seen, and I've prayed in many masajids, in many mosques, and that is the message that I've been, I heard when I was there from the scholars. So alhamdulillah, they're doing a lot, and I urge them to do more to just make people understand that this religion, is a peaceful religion, and that you need to understand it. Once you understand the people and you understand the religion, I'm sure you can build tolerance. You can bring about tolerance in society.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Sunusi. As you said, what our Islamic scholars need to do in propagating Islam is to preach tolerance and understanding, so that we can avoid misconception from other religions, and that we should educate people not to use the religion as against the actions of the individuals who are practicing the Islam. Because Islam is a message of peace. And from your observations, when you were last in Sierra Leone, all what you found out was people were preaching these teachings, like tolerance and people trying to understand the religion. Now, which brings me to another question, and I'm going to go straight to Brother Kallay in Sierra Leone. One unique aspect of Ramadan in Sierra Leone, which is not seen in other West African states, is the fact that non-Muslim spouses or relatives and friends actually endeavor to join in the fasting. And at the same time, you find out that the attitude, hold on, Brother Kallay, the attitude of women, especially in terms of their dress codes, there's a lot of changes in terms of appearance and behavior,
Yeah, you are in the month of Ramadan, you think?
You're on the ground. Yeah. During Ramadan.
I heard you. Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
All right. Yes, indeed, it is true that during the month of Ramadan, it is the time that the Muslims here take their religion very seriously. And you will agree with me that as soon as you take yourself serious, you treat your religion seriously, other people will surely treat you seriously. During the month of Ramadan, Muslims, non-Muslims try to correct themselves in terms of improving their dress code. They will be dressing properly, because they know that they are Muslims, or they are not Muslims, but they know that the Muslims around them are fasting, so they deserve some respect. And then the other area we also experienced, which is very, very positive on our side. During the month of Ramadan, you find out that people do some kind of, visitations to the mosques. People that are not come to your mosque to come and keep your time, to come and pray with you. During the day, the nights of Laylatul Qadr, when the Salatul Tahajjud was ongoing, people were coming around, just to witness the Salatul Tahajjud. They are not Muslims, but because of their friends, and they want to. To me, I considered it as if when somebody is guilty, right? Now I'm guilty that this religion is the best religion, but I cannot go out and say that in my church or in my synagogue, or I cannot say that to my family, but I am convinced.
Yeah, okay. I think we have lost Brother Kallay there. Anyway, what he was saying is that during the month of Ramadan, the religion, is, especially Islam, people really take it seriously, the Muslims themselves. So as a result, a lot of people follow suit, Muslims and non-Muslims in general. They show a lot of respect for the religion in terms of joining in prayers, friends go, and, that kind of show of unity. And now, Brother Abdul Karim, would you like to add something to that?
Well, I left Freetown when I was I think I was 16 years old. So my recollection, I've not spent the month of Ramadan in Sierra Leone for... Okay, yeah, so as I was saying... All right, I was saying, so I've not spent the month of Ramadan in Freetown or in Sierra Leone for at least 14, 15 years. So I can't really speak to that at this point because I've not been on the ground for that long. But my recollection, as a kid and a teenager growing up, I know Muslims, in general, took Ramadan very seriously in Sierra Leone, and you would know that it's the month of Ramadan, based on the way people interacted and based on the way people, handled their business. Like people visited the masjid more, and people were very kind and friendly to one another. So that atmosphere of, religiosity and spirituality is very much alive in the month of Ramadan in Freetown, based on my recollection. Now, in terms of non-Muslims participating, I don't remember clearly that happening. I'm sure they recognized it, but in terms of actually having them join us and do certain things, I don't recall that. But I knew they were cognizant of the month and they recognized it and they respected it. That's as far as I remember. But as far as what has happened and what's happening now, maybe this is what's happening now, but I cannot speak to that because I've not been in the country. Or I've not spent the month of Ramadan there for this long, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah. So, Brother Sunusi, can you add something to that, to what Brother Abdul Karim said?
No, yes. Well, of course, there's no doubt that the holy month of Ramadan is a very special month to Muslims. It's the month in which the Holy Quran was revealed as a guide to mankind. It's a month in which, the reward for goodness are multiplied manyfold. So it is not surprising to see that Muslims in Sierra Leone, especially the practicing one, staying away from sinful practices and things that they would, things that they would engage in other months. And it's a time that brings people together. It's a very blessed month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself respect, in the sense that all the evil forces are chained, are restrained, so that people are allowed to do goodness, so that they can earn the reward of the hereafter, which are Jannah al-Firdaus, which every Muslim want to go. Every Muslim wants to go to the Jannah. So this is a very special month, for all of us. And in Sierra Leone, I grew up in Sierra Leone, and people would respect, even non-Muslims would respect this month. Out of respect of Muslims, they will respect this month in the way that even if they are not properly dressed and they are passing in front of Muslims who they know that they are fasting, they will probably not pass or cover themselves, just to create, not to cause any insensitivities to Muslims. So this is one thing that I like about the Sierra Leoneans. Although they are not Muslims, but they will say, I know that Kamo or that Sheikh is fasting. So you know what, I'm not going to eat in front of them. Just to respect, out of respect for the person who you're standing next to, or the person that you're passing in front of their house, you will not be eating or will not be dressed in a certain way that will, people will feel offended. So Muslims are known to be, Sierra Leoneans are known to be doing that. So it's a very good thing, which, it's an indication of tolerance in Sierra Leone. You never see Christian, Muslim conflicts. You never see any sectarian violence in Freetown or in Sierra Leone as a whole, which is really good.
Okay, that's okay, Brother Sunusi. I get that. I get that. We're running out of time. So let me just go back briefly to everything we've all said here. Thank you very much for that, Brother Sunusi and Brother Abdul Karim. Brother Allieu Kallay, we might have lost him because of the line, but this is what all of you brothers have said. And as a society, all what we've come down to is that we should all be we should be conscious of each other's religion. We are all spiritual beings, and we are having a human experience in terms of tolerance and encouraging other people to come to our religion, in our code of dressing, our behavior in general, and to try to stop misconception about our religion. So these are some of the things we've discussed here today, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
High, you spread my wings and fly me to the sky. I feel so alive. It's like my soul thrives in your light. But how I wish you'd be here with me all year around. Ramadan. So much peace fills up the air. Ramadan, month of the Quran. I feel it inside.
Welcome back, dear listeners. I am Suafiatu Tunis, talking to some of our brothers about the religion in Sierra Leone, especially Islam, how it's affecting our society. Welcome back, brothers, Sunusi and Abdul Karim Sesay. We've lost Brother Allieu Kallay on the line, so we'll continue with you brothers. Now, I'll start with Brother Abdul Karim again. I know you've not been to Sierra Leone in a while, but wherever you are, like the United States, I know there are a lot of things you might observe. Which is happening around you. And for us in Sierra Leone, as of now, it is normally common knowledge that even the clubs and bars are empty during the month of Ramadan, which gives the impression that all these places were frequented by people who profess to be Muslims. Yes. What are the imams and sheikhs doing in terms of giving advice and propagating the benefits of staying away from these places or to curb these habits?
Right. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In my environment, in the States and the massages that I go to and some of the people that I hang around. It's the teaching of staying away from haram and practicing and trying to become better Muslim. That's an ongoing thing. It's something that is always emphasized in the masajids, and our scholars and some of the imams, especially in Virginia that I know, that I've listened to, they do a pretty good job, sticking to the message. At any given Jummah Salat, they still talk about that. And sometimes you go to different halaqas, there's also, discuss that. So the message of staying away from haram and striving to halal and becoming a better Muslim, that's always going on. So it's no different in the month of Ramadan. I mean, it's just a little bit more amplified in the month of Ramadan. But that message is constant. I mean, there's where we are, I mean, you can probably relate to this. We have access to so many forums, especially with the internet. We have, constant internet. You can listen to lectures from all types of people. If you want to be spiritually connected, you can have that. You can have that outlet. There's plenty of information. There's plenty of material, plenty of literature out there. And even if you go to the massages and you want to talk to an imam, they usually make time, make that available. So in terms of that, message, it's always going on, at least in my circles and, the people that I frequent, that I hang out with and, the places that I go. So in terms of staying away from like the clubs and what else, what other activity people engage in mostly, that message is always ongoing. So yeah, it's not just in the month of Ramadan, but it's just in the month of Ramadan. It's just emphasized a little bit more, but it's constant.
Okay, thank you very much. As you said, it all comes down to access to information. Like on your side, you've got that access. Unlike us in Sierra Leone, we don't have that much, except people go, door to door within their cities, and we lack that. Yes, our imams are trying; they are doing their best.
Yes.
Through the radio and within the community, But Brother Sunusi, what's your take on that? Since quite recently you've been to Sierra Leone, what do you think about that?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that the holy month of Ramadan is a special month. And that people try to minimize their evil actions in order to, earn the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the premise that crime rates are minimized in Ramadan, which, lead to the suggestion that it is only Muslims who are, engaged in evil practices, is kind of flawed, because there are people who are not Muslims, who live among Muslims, and as I said, out of respect, they will stay away from the bars and clubs. It doesn't necessarily mean that because you see these things minimized in Ramadan, conclude that it is only Muslims who are, who are the perpetrators of those crimes, or who are the goers of these areas. So it is just like in Christianity, you have what is known as Lent. It's a time when many Christians prepare for Easter, about 40 days before Easter, and they will be fasting, asking for repentance and trying to be modest in their dress and things like that. So the same thing with Ramadan. It's a time for us to minimize our, evil practices, to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I don't want to go with the premise or the suggestion that because you see bars and clubs, empty at night in Sierra Leone, which lead to the suggestion that it's only Muslims. So that is kind of stereotypical to me. I mean, but as I said, there are Muslims there are non-Muslims who live among Muslims, and out of respect, they too will stay out of these places. So it is not only Muslims who you find in those areas. And as my brother mentioned, we are trying very hard, because Islam is a comprehensive way of life. And morality is one of the cornerstones in Islam. It is very fundamental. And you will find people on social networks. You'll find more young people on social networks than you will find them in the mosques, in masajid. So we're doing our best as people of knowledge, as students of knowledge, to go online and preach morality, because this is what Islam, it is very important in terms of a healthy society. If you want a healthy society, then you have to. Don't give Islam a backseat in your society. This is what we see in many societies. Islam is given a backseat. And that's what happened. When Islam is given a backseat in society, then what do you expect? A society that is full of immorality. So, we need to emphasize the important aspect of morality in Islam. It's not just the spiritual aspect. And this is one thing that I also would like. They are doing it, but I would like to urge the scholars to do that, to emphasize not just on prayers and zakat and fasting. These are very important things, but also they should stress on the moral aspect of the religion. It is very, very important in terms of verse code, in terms of, not gambling, in terms of the things that will destroy a nation. Because if we study history, you will see that a lot of nations have been destroyed because of their immoral practices. So if we want our society to prosper, we have to uphold what is good and discourage what is bad. And this is what makes us as Muslims, the best people chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He mentioned that in the Quran, that because of you discourage what is evil, and encourage what is good. And that is what we should be doing in any society in order to build, a healthy and corrupt-free society.
Okay, I understand that, Brother Sunusi. As you said about our Islamic scholars trying to preach more of morality. Yes, it's good for people to pray and fast and give their zakat, but they should be taught all of those other little things that makes it whole. And as you said, but there is one thing that we are lacking in Sierra Leone, which is we don't have that many workshops or seminars being done by those who have studied outside for the local imams and sheikhs who have studied in Sierra Leone. They don't have much access to so many information. And if so, what kind of role would you like the government to play in facilitating jobs for those who are not employed by outside missions like Muslim World League or Haramain? And there is one, I don't want to say illness that is affecting our Muslim communities. We have a society wherein our Muslim brothers and or the imams and sheikhs are only relying on the Quran, which is a good thing, But I believe that we should encourage people, or those the up and coming imams who are into the religion to learn other trades instead of just learning to be an imam. So we have a lot of doctors, judges, and different professions around the world who are imams, but at the same time they have a day job where they go to, unlike us in Sierra Leone. This is really affecting our communities because our brothers just depend on being an imam. You see, and I would like to hear your thoughts on that, Brother Abdul Karim. Since we've lost Brother Allieu Kallay, please, I would like to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, in terms of, I guess, imams having, a day job outside of, their role as imams, that to me, that's kind of on an individual basis, like in Freetown, for example, in Sierra Leone, first of all, there's not that many jobs to go around in my experience from what I know. So, and I'm sure maybe some of these imams would like to do something else, as opposed to just sitting in the masajids all day, even if they do that, which I'm not even sure that happens, or, doing lessons, to the kids all day, or, basically playing a full-time role as the imam. I'm not sure that all of them want to do that, but again, there's no other alternative to that. Other than like doing becoming like a day laborer. I mean, and then there's plenty of that to go around, and many people are already doing that. So some of these people are qualified. Some of them have secular education, maybe degrees in other fields, but there's simply very little opportunity. Yeah, there's simply very little opportunity for everybody in Sierra Leone. I know people from my family who have degrees, but they don't have jobs. It's kind of like who you know, but that's a topic for another forum. But for the imams, I think that's based on, for one, there's not enough jobs to go around in Sierra Leone for all these people. And two, I think that's also down to the individual. Maybe some people just want to give lessons all day. Maybe they just want to teach the kids and be there, to answer questions to I guess members of the community, and to just serve their roles and pray the 5 daily prayers in the masjid, because you have to have imams there, to lead the salats throughout the day. So maybe some people are comfortable with that, and maybe other people need something else. So in general, I think there's just not enough for everybody to do. So if they're comfortable in their role, as being imams, I think there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, that's true. There's nothing wrong with being an imam, but in the world we live in today, when things are so difficult, I really think there should be other options for our imams. And
I agree.
So if one, at least something they can fall back on.
Yes, I agree.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the government should play a role in that. Now,
maybe
yes, Abdul Karim, you want to say something?
No, I was going to say maybe, Brother Sunusi can speak to that. Maybe he might be better equipped to talk about that.
Do you have anything to add?
Well, no doubt that seeking the knowledge of Islam or the religious knowledge is very, very important. I mean, this is very important in the sense that you have to know Allah before you worship Him. So priority should be given to the Islamic knowledge. But that doesn't mean we should stop there. In the past, there were Muslim scholars, Muslim economists, Muslim, astronomers. There were, doctors. In every field, they are Muslims. So there's nothing wrong if you have the means to go further and seek some academic education in the academic and field. There's nothing wrong with that, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what did He tell us in the Quran? You see, وَابْتَغِي فِي مَا أَتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. What does that mean? You see, seek, don't forget your own portion of lawful things in this life. Meaning, yes, strive for the hereafter, seek the hereafter, but don't forget your own share in this life. Meaning, earning of halal, trying to look after your family by a halal means, by finding a job. You don't have to be an academic degree holder, a PhD holder. I mean, you can be a trader. You can be an imam. You can be a trader. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a trader. He was a prophet, but yet he was married to Khadija, and he was running her business. So he was a trader. He didn't depend just on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say Allah will feed me. No, he was a trader. Jesus was a carpenter. So there are the prophets. They had their own profession. Most of them were shepherds. Why? These were own area of looking after the sheep and making sure that they are trained for the message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to give to them. So there's nothing wrong with that. And the best thing, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, what is the best earning? He said the one that is earned through a blessed sale, and that the one that was eaten, it is given to you, is earned through your own earning, halal earning. So that's the best. That's the best. So if they have the means to do that, to go further and educate themselves, whether in trade or engage in trade so that they can earn something, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, the government can play a role, but we don't want to depend. So because there are a lot of Muslim scholars in Freetown. Some of them, yes, after I was one of them. I studied in Medina. After graduating from the University of Medina, during my final year in university, this was our greatest concern, that everybody was saying, oh, what are we going to do in Freetown? How are we going to function with just a mere Islamic certificate? That was the talk. But I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bigger than that. So I didn't stop there. And alhamdulillah, before leaving Freetown, before leaving to Sierra Leone to go and study in Saudi, I had already finished my high school. So alhamdulillah, and I was given the opportunity to come to the United States. I didn't stop there. I'm pursuing my political science career. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. If you have the means to do it, go ahead and do it. But if not, yes, the government should help in a way. There are Ministry of Social Welfare, and they have an area, I believe, for religious affairs. I'm sure there are a lot of people who studied in Islamic universities who are working there. Sheikh Kallay is one of them, I think, is working there. And he himself, Sheikh Kallay, is an evidence. He is by profession, we started together, but he's by profession, a journalist. He owns and runs his own newspaper, Brother Kallay. So, if there's a way to do it, go ahead and do it. And it is to help the community, because any knowledge that you seek in order to better yourself and better your community is a better knowledge. It's a good knowledge. And that's what the Prophet Muhammad said.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Brother Sunusi and Brother Abdul Karim. So, in conclusion, what all of you have said is that, people should seek knowledge. It should not just be based on one thing, regardless of their situations. If the means is there, everybody should try to learn something else, because as all the prophets were sent by Allah, everybody had something they were doing. Either they were shepherds, or they were traders, or they were carpenters. We've got a lot of those people among the prophets of God that God sent down to us. And most of them, in the Islamic religion, we used to have economists, doctors, astronomers, and different academics seeking knowledge, which is a good thing. And for us in Sierra Leone, we will still encourage those young ones who are coming up, for them to be encouraged to go to learn the Quran there, at the same time to go through secular education, learn a little bit of English, because those two combined can help.
Exactly.
And and to come to the end of our program, I just have one more question for you, brothers. As in the past, the two main religious groups in Sierra Leone played a significant role to bring peace in the ending of the civil war. I believe that brought our people much more closer in understanding each other, and still remains. And I think that that relationship is still strong. What do you think needs to be done in educating people about the true meaning of Islam, so that we can continue to enjoy living in peace and harmony with other Sierra Leoneans of different faiths? That to you, Brother Abdul Karim, again. What are your suggestions to that?
Well, I think in Sierra Leone, people of different faiths have always lived, in harmony for the most part. I don't think there's been any time in our history where there has been any religious, strife in the history books. Now, don't quote me on that 100%, but based on my knowledge and what I've learned in school growing up, I don't think there was anything like that in our history. So, alhamdulillah for that. But and I don't see any reason why that should not continue. But in terms of Muslims in general, our deen, which is a complete way of life, is not just something you do on Fridays and in the month of Ramadan. People should understand, again, it comes back to the basic, idea of learning, the basic Islamic knowledge. Because if you don't know, how are you going to speak to somebody about yourself if you don't know yourself? You're not going to be able to tell anyone about it. Certainly you're not going to be able to do it like in a way that you can convey the message where people can understand you and maybe, make sense out of it. So to me, I think education is the biggest concern, and I think that's the biggest thing that we lack as Muslims. As Sheikh Sunusi alluded to earlier, if you don't know Allah, how are you going to worship Allah? So, and Islam entails every aspect of our lives. So it's something that Muslims from Sierra Leone, I think only now that we're really starting to, to get a good grasp of that Islam, entails a whole life, not just something we do on Fridays or not just something we do in the month of Ramadan. Every day of the year, there's the sun. The sun comes out. It gets dark at night. It rains and all that stuff. So, Allah is always there. So we still have to, acknowledge that. Of course, none of us are saints, but just having the knowledge and knowing, our obligation and our reason, that we were created, which is just to worship Allah. Everything else comes after that. And worshiping Allah entails a whole lot of other things. Like the Islamic knowledge is just so vast. You can spend a whole lifetime trying to pursue Islamic knowledge and you'll still not be finished. So, but I think primarily, education is the big thing that I see that I think we need as Muslims, and not just in Sierra Leone, all over the world. I mean, many Muslims, there are many Muslims around the world, but most of us, I think most of us are lacking basic Islamic knowledge. And I mean, from there, you can take it wherever you want. If you learn, I guess, even how to read the Quran, and most of us need to take the time out to learn basic Arabic. I mean, even if we cannot like learn how to speak it, but at least to be able to understand when you stand up, to make salah, you should be able to understand what you're reading. I mean, that makes a big difference as opposed to just standing there and thinking about all these other things instead of actually focusing on what you're saying in your prayer. I mean, when you're able to do that, your prayer becomes much more meaningful, and you start developing a taste, for knowledge in Islam, and you want to learn more and more, and then everything else, I believe, inshallah, everything else will fall in place after that. But you got to make that effort, and I think, and to just touch on this real quickly, one of the things that some of the brothers really pointed out when I was in Freetown, they wanted educational materials, they wanted books, they wanted CDs. They wanted things, they just have the zeal and the zest for knowledge, but there's very little, to go around, and so that's one thing that they really were asking for, and some of the young brothers that I spent time with. So I think, the idea is there. We just have to, try to, get it to fruition, inshallah.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. And Brother Sunusi, what are your final thoughts on this?
Oh, well, I think the brother, mashallah, has just said everything in a nutshell. But just to buttress to what he has already said is I need to also emphasize on education. It's very important, education. Just remember, the first thing that was given to Prophet Muhammad sallam is read. The important that just stress the importance of education. We need to educate people. People need to be educated about the difference between Islam and Muslims, because that's where the misconceptions come about. In order to coexist and have this peaceful coexistence between religions and bring about, tolerance in society, people need to understand the difference between Islam. I'm not saying Muslims are perfect. Muslims are not. You would find people who don't go by what the book say, but what the Quran and the Sunnah, say. But you don't stereotype all Muslims. You need to educate them and let them understand that Islam should not be targeted or indicted for the action of some of those people who do not follow, the real teachings of Islam. If that is taught, that is spread in society, people would know, well, you know what, Islam is a clear message. Islam says this: respect your parent, respect the elders in the community, strive to do good. But these Muslims are not doing that. So I'm not going to blame Islam for the action of those people. Have the understanding that Muslims and Islam are not the same. Yes, they're supposed to be perfect, but they are not. But Islam is. Islam is a perfect religion because it encompasses every aspect of the human life. So if you don't follow Islam, that's your own individual business. That's your business. It's not Islam. You don't indict the entire faith that represents 1.6 billion people because of the action of few. I mean, certainly you would not blame Christianity for the heinous crimes committed by the IRA. The same goes for the Lord Resistance Army in Uganda, who are fighting, to establish the Ten Commandments in Uganda. We're not going to blame Christianity for that. So we have to. This will bring understanding. When you understand that, no, this is what Islam says, this is what the book, the scriptures say, but these are the Muslims who are not following what the book is saying. So these are two different things. We shouldn't, mix the two, and we shouldn't define Islam by the action of the people. Sierra Leone, I was there in Freetown during the war, and I saw, the interfaith, dialogue. People came together, pastors, imams, from the different religious communities. They came together, and after they got tired of the war, they came together and were speaking with one voice to end the war against the rebel war that claimed the life of, thousands of people. This happened in Freetown, and I was there, and I said, you see, this is what we want, because we are all suffering the same thing. We're all suffering this war, the effect of this war. So why not come together as one? And this has been happening. Alhamdulillah, there is no religious violence in Syria between Muslims and Christians. But we need to do more and let people, because there are few people who will misunderstand, who will use the action of some Muslims to just blame the entire faith, and that just to cause hatred, against Muslims and the Islamic way of life. And that would bring, strife in the community and cause people to hate one another, because of these Muslim people killed my people. So I'm going to, blame the entire faith. Anybody who is a Muslim, I'm going to distance him or her. I don't want to get close. I don't want to do anything to do with them because they are the ones who are responsible. So understanding, education, just teach them. Here in America, people don't hate us. They don't know us. Once they get to know you as a Muslim, wallahi, they will have respect for you. They will respect you. They don't hate us. They don't know who Muslims are. So the sooner they get close to you and know what Islam says, you explain to them what Islam stands for, what Islam says, then they'll say, okay, and they will start, clearing their misconceptions about religion. So education is very, very important in order to bring about, tolerance in society and live harmony, harmoniously with other faiths in society.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brother Sunusi. So as you and Brother Abdul Karim have just highlighted, it all comes down to education. If we are educated as Muslims, the way we see ourselves as Muslims, we will be the same way we see others and the world around us. And the way we project ourselves to the world as Muslims will make people not to misunderstand us, rather than understanding us and being friendly or realizing that our religion is a religion of peace, wherein we can coexist with other religions, we can have consideration and obligations, mutual respect, tolerance, and as a society, as in Sierra Leone in particular, we need to encourage our young people by providing, education and materials for them, because they have so many ideas, but there is no way for them to put them into better use because of the lack of education and materials or the lack of education in general. So with this, we come to the end of the show. I say a very big thank you to the brothers Allieu, Kallay, Brother Sunusi, Sesay, and Brother Abdul Karim, Sesay. Thank you very much. Shukran. May Allah.
Afwan, shukran. Thank you very much for inviting us to this discussion. Wonderful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.